Hi, my name is Jonathan Ball. I'm a licensed attorney who is going to medical school, and I wanted to make a breakdown of what my opinions are on the best pre-med degrees to go, if not to go to medical school, maybe to have a plan B and back out, or to do many other things in your life, because not all degrees are created equal, as I burp in your face. Also, there's a question about whether or not these are easily completed. So I have three criteria I am judging these degrees on. One is their ability to prepare you for the MCAT in getting into medical school, which maybe is preparing you for medical school, who knows. Number two is what is the plan B if I don't get into medical school or don't want to go to medical school? What are my jobs that I can do with this degree? And what is my income that I'll have if I just stop here and say, you know what, I want to go work? Number three is how easy is this degree to get? What are the graduation rates? Why would I do something that's twice as hard when I could get 90% of the benefit for something that's easier? So that is the breakdown of how I am cataloging these. I have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. To me, there should only be one S tier, and I think this is the standard, the degree if you want to maximize your total output, the best possible chance to get into med school, the best possible side jobs you could get, and the easiest bang for your buck to graduate. That is S tier. And D tier, I think, is the worst option. And I have a whole bunch of degrees here that are all backed by the AAMC, except for one in terms of data and statistics. And I looked up the median salaries for these things. First is biology. This is like the most common degree you're going to see in going to pre-med. Then is humanities. These are things that are going to be your, not your social sciences in this regard. There is a lot of people will consider social sciences to be a humanities degree. I don't in this list because I have the AAMC here has separated humanities and social sciences. So for this list, I am separating them. Math and statistics, they've combined. They have an other list, which could be who knows what. Physical sciences, which is going to be chemistry and physics. Then there's going to be social sciences, so like psychology, sociology, maybe even political science. I'm not sure if they consider that a part of humanities, which would be like your history degrees. Maybe even they might even be considering your business degrees. I'm considering business in this regard to be other. And then health sciences, which is going to be considered specialized health science, so cell biology, biochemistry, things like that are maybe considered more advanced, neuroscience, things like that. And then last, the Mona Lisa represents general arts degrees. So this is like the wild card, the one that no one talks about, that these people can go to medical school if they want. So starting off at biology, I went through and made three different online notes on where these things are, because they each, when you look at biological sciences, it does not, for some reason, include biochemistry from my reading. It seems to include just biology, and the biology tends to do pretty well on the MCAT. If you look at their mean matriculants, which is different than your mean applicants, so that's going to be 506.3 for the people applying, then they're going to be 511.5 for the people who are matriculating, and that is good, but it's not great, which is surprising because biology is like the premier degree. Almost everyone is getting a biology degree, and because of that, I put it in tier 3 for whether or not it prepares you for medical school. Oddly enough, it is the most popular major with matriculant scoring this, but their GPAs are also pretty solid. I don't know why this has happened to them. However, the thing that's kind of interesting about this is what I didn't expect is they tend to be what I put them in tier 2, which is not what I would expect because most biology majors are not going to be able to find jobs. But when I looked at their starting salary outside of going into something medical, they have a $40,000 to $60,000 average salary, which is pretty good considering that according to a Wikipedia page I read, that the 2023 current population survey report estimates that the 2022 U.S. population over the age of 15, numbers that don't matter, had incomes. So the median income was $40,000, but the mean, which matters most, was $59,000. So you are probably going to be average or slightly above average, single the median, but probably about right on average for the mean. And lastly, I wanted to talk about people who are graduating the easiest to get. So STEM is all kind of the same. This is like 40 to 60% of people are going to be graduating in biology degrees, essentially. So it's hard, but it's not super, super hard. So that being said, I feel like you're getting mid vibes from this. To me, a biology degree is like a solid B tier. I feel like it's not amazing, it's not bad, it's just good. It's good enough. You will get into medical school. You will have a job outside of medicine, kind of. I once spoke to a med school when I was applying, and this is an MD school that was pretty reputable in my area, and they said, when they talked about my background, they were like, oh, we don't always really like to take non-traditional students or people who don't have biology degrees. And I was like, oh, why is that? And they said that they really look to biology degrees because they know that you don't have a choice. You have to stick through med school. You have to graduate, or else you won't make money. And I thought that was a really bad take for a medical school to have, but also it made me doubt the viability of the biology degree. Moving on to humanities, Humanities is actually surprisingly good, good at the MCAT, and these are people who obviously have added the general sciences, the prerequisites to their program, because these things don't naturally come with the science background that you'll need. If you do a biology degree, you will naturally, through the course of the biology degree, get your prerequisites most likely. But things like humanities do not. In fact, they don't really have any humanity degrees or any science really at all. Maybe some like baby biology. But when you look at how they perform under the AAMC records, they're outperforming the biology degrees pretty heavily. And at least I think this is statistically significant. And what I really find interesting about the humanities is they're really performing as well as the top percentages in CARs. So they're going to be really good at reading comprehension. And with these science GPAs being a little lower, I think you see that because their non-science GPA is going to be pretty strong, but because they're not science people, they're going to struggle a little bit more in those classes. Whether or not they're going to make money, though, is a totally different question. They tend to be, in my opinion, in the $30,000 to $50,000 range, which is like tier 3 to me. It's not great. You're not going to get a whole ton of jobs. I'm actually not even sure because the humanities is a large, vast thing, but no matter what you're going to pick in the humanities, whether it's history or something like that, you're really not going to get a great job in humanities at this stage. If you get an education degree, maybe that would be something that's useful, but overall, I think it's probably in what I put tier 0 in terms of, I actually don't know how many people are graduating. There's limited data on this sort of stuff, and I don't know why it's not well researched, how humanities in general graduates, but I think it's relatively high. So I'm going to kind of ignore the third prong here and just say that it's just high, easy to graduate. You're gonna come differently to the pool, and that's gonna be awesome. You're gonna look like you're not just another bio boy. You're gonna have some unique classes that other people haven't taken, but you make sure that you are still getting a good science GPA, because your overall GPA won't matter as much as your science GPA will, because each class is going to be more micromanaged. You're going to take so few science classes that each one's going to matter more, and that can add a lot of stress. So to me, I think humanities is absolutely B tier as well. You're going to put a lot of, I just knocked you over, you're going to put a lot of bang into a few classes, but I'll put it in B tier, but can I put it above biology? I think it's slightly better. I think it is less stress for the overall experience, but more pressure in the application process, if that makes sense. Next on the list is math and statistics, which the AAMC has combined into one thing. This is like the super elite status. With the mean total MCAT of 516. These people are absolutely amazing at what they do. They go absolutely hard. They outperform in pretty much everything. Their GPAs they're taking harder classes. So even though they might have smaller lower GPAs in certain ways, they still have the highest non-science GPA. They still have second only to the biological sciences, I think. They still have the one of the highest, if not the highest overall GPAs. It's really impressive, I think, to be one of these things and to be going to medical school, because these people have worked really hard. They have great preparation for the MCAT. And if you look at this, they also, oddly enough, something you'd think they'd never be good at, they're also just as good at reading as the humanities people. And that's what the humanities people do. They read. Now, it's kind of the negative, right, is that people are going to really struggle with graduating in this 40 to 60%. I think you're still if I actually cut this out and just said math in general, I think it would be really poor graduation rates. I don't think these people are going to graduate. I don't think, or at least as often as the others. I mean, they're going to graduate, but it's going to be really, really, really difficult. See, because I put tier 1 as the highest graduation rates, above average, and then I think I just likely average. I didn't really put anyone below because I don't really know any field that's going to be applying to medical school that's going to be at a below average, because these people are working really hard. But if I had to tier these, I do science, technology, engineering, and then math. Engineering and math being the lowest. And I'll actually cheat and put engineering in with the math and science or statistics, because I think these people really do have an advantage in being able to get great jobs. I think these people, I actually included science, computer science. These people have a lot of legitimate careers they could do. They could just stop right now and win everything. It's relatively hard, but not as hard as you think it is. You might be like, oh, I don't have a math mind. Well, you can learn it. You just have to put in effort. And these people, I think, are absolutely going to be in S tier. I think this is the best major for pre-med and having the best backup option. It is STEM. You have the most income you're going to get. It's relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but it is consistent to graduate. And I think these people are making a great decision. I don't know why I have other here, but I will do other now. Other is an odd thing because it doesn't clearly define what other is. I told you that it kind of discusses things like education and things like that, but it doesn't clearly say whether that's a humanities or not. So I'm kind of cautious on mentioning this one. And they also don't really do that impressively. I think if you're not one of the named things, you're just really not being looked at because you're not doing enough. And the other people, if I don't mention you in any of these things, I don't think it's anyone's fault. It's just there's insufficient data for me to really know what they mean by other, especially because you get different opinions depending on what site you're talking about, and I just don't feel comfortable putting it at anything. So I think if you're not picking a named thing on this list, I'm going to put it at D tier, because I don't think no one trusted your degree enough to put it here, so it's not really worth talking about. Physical sciences, which is your chemistry and physics, that is a interesting one because I thought these people were the elite ones. 513.8, they're doing really good, but I think they are second place in terms of getting into medical school. I think they are very high. This is great. This is super cool. They're awesome people. They also have a decent job prospect if you want to do 50 to 70,000. I think that's really good. I think they are tier 1 in salary range. I think they are tier 1 but like slightly below the math engineer statistics people. But this is like if you just don't really want to be one of those people. If you're worried about the math being too hard, this is a great backup option. In terms of being easiest to get, I think they still fall into the slightly easier STEM fields in the 40 to 60%. It's still hard, but it should go without saying, I think this is an A tier. I'm brokenhearted about the next one because it is social science, and I am a social science major. In fact, there are two kinds of social science majors. There's a Bachelor of Arts in Social Sciences, and then there's a Bachelor of Science, which gives you all the prerequisites you need for med school. I am the Bachelor of Science, and people continuously tell me it's not real science, and I understand, even though we take a lot of statistics, and I took organic and biochemistry, I did everything you did, but I also took a ton of psychology, I took sociology, and all of these things are on the MCAT. If it's not real science, why is it on the MCAT? That being said, social sciences does not perform that great, but it does perform better than biology, and that's all I care about. The cars section, I thought these people would blow it out of the water. They do a good job, but not really as good as everyone else. That's fine. I'm not upset at them for that. The psychology, sociology section is going to be their highlight, right? They're going to do as well here as anyone can, but everyone does well in this section, so it's not super valuable. I don't really think that the social science section warrants anything more than a low tier 3 in terms of med school admission. I think they do well. They get in. I got in. I'm a social science guy, and I think the classes are a lot of fun. They're really easy to take. The problem is they don't make any money. So you can maybe be a school psychologist, but you're still going to have to go to graduate school to make this degree worth anything. And it just isn't on its own. It's a great companion degree, but it's terrible on its own, in my personal opinion. That being said, the graduation rates for social sciences are surprisingly bad. I don't know how this happened. Apparently we're all stupid. This is a horrible realization to me, and I don't know how this happened, but I think it genuinely is C tier. I think social science isn't great. I'm sorry. That being said, specialized health sciences is one that you would think would just be like, that's the elite, the spec ops people, right? And they do a really good job. If you look at them on here, the specialized health sciences actually end up being okay. They aren't really blowing anything out of the water. They aren't really destroying anybody's records. In fact, they're actually scoring pretty bad on the admitted scores. Like, look at their average in terms of the total applicants. Turns out they really struggle, and I don't know why. You hear people that do biochemistry and stuff like this, that, wow, they must be really smart. And maybe they are, but maybe they're just trying a little too hard. Because they honestly have, like I have it here, neuroscience, microbiology, cell biology, biochemistry. Maybe they're just too focused on one thing and don't really do great, because their life science section is good, but they're not beating the humanities. And like, I don't know what happened to these people. That being said, they actually are graduating at seriously high rates. So I don't know if we've all been lied to that these things are as difficult as they sound, but they don't really offer anything of supreme value. So I have to put this at low C tier. The only reason why it's not in D tier is because you actually can get very good jobs with these things as opposed to other things. You're less likely to get into medical school. The graduation rates aren't great, but like I talked about, they make good money. In terms of like, where are they? Yeah, right here, 40 to 60,000. And I think that's pretty good. I think that matters. They're not awful, but they're not great. But you could totally do better. You could absolutely do better than being a specialized. Just be biology if you really want to be biochemistry, or technically chemistry, which is a physical science thing, since biochemistry is technically a chem class. Last but not least, maybe least depending on your opinion, is something that I thought was not discussed and should be. It is the arts major. These people are varied in their appreciation. Sometimes they're in music, sometimes they're in acting. For both, you have film, and then you have plays, and then you have all the things that they do in between, where there are people who are doing stage work. It's super complicated. You have people who are doing all the different kinds of instruments. I think in this I would even include like graphic design. These people are absolutely a wild card, and they are not appreciated. Maybe they're in the other section, but the other is just too broad. So I wanted to just say that they are a wild card. They don't really have general data on how they're going to score on the MCAT, but I know arts majors who have switched over and they have been successful. This is anecdotal, but I really believe in the science majors because I think they are passionate, they are interesting, and they add a lot of needed character to a field that is otherwise very sterile. Unfortunately, wildcard in arts for Plan B earning. They have as high as 77,000, as low as 28,000. The majority of studio art salaries, which is what I was looking at as kind of a baseline, ranges a lot. And for that, I don't think you can say they're either awful or they're great. And obviously, people in arts can make tons of money. They also vary greatly in terms of whether they are even employed. There's chronic unemployment, but they have really high job satisfaction, and I think that matters for something. And it should matter when you're talking about a potential Plan B, and also allowing yourself to survive the trauma of medicine. If you do not plan to take your Plan B, you will have all these other things that make you super interesting. So with that, I think this is a solid B tier. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's bad. But I think it could be great, or it could be bad, if that makes sense. That is my tier list. Math and statistics is the best. I think physical sciences is the second best. I think humanities is a surprise clutch hit. Biology is a surprise letdown. Arts is the wild card that comes in and beats a lot of other wonderful things. Social sciences is my own personal love but disappointment. Specialized health sciences doesn't seem to do great. And other, I have no idea what to do with it, so it goes in D. Let me know if you have any insight on these, because these are actually really hard to research. If you are in this field, you'd give better advice probably than I would. So I'd love to see what you have to say about this sort of thing. I've never been anything other than a psychology major, and I can only go on what the AAMC data says. I can only go on what Wikipedia and all these things say and hope that they're accurate. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you guys later. Thanks.